Good afternoon, Mr. Noko.
Good afternoon to you.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I see that you're a dad of 3 young ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was delayed a bit.
Are you raising them on your own?
No,
Oh, all right. I was a bit worried. I saw that you're a widower, and I wondered how you juggle all that comes with that. Okay. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. What academic qualifications do you hold?
I hold B.Juris degree from Northwest University, previously called UNIBO, and LLB. I also hold LLM from the University of Pretoria. I hold a postgraduate diploma certificate from the University of Johannesburg. I also did a diploma certificate, if I could call it, from the University of Pretoria on insolvency practice.
Right.
Yes.
You're an attorney
Yes, I'm an attorney,
and a conveyancer in Notary Public.
conveyancer and notary public. Yes, indeed.
I see that you've worked in a few firms of attorneys before, or including the well-known Seriti Mafundla firm before you started practicing on your own account.
Yes, I served articles at a firm in Rustenburg, ceded the articles to another firm in Pretoria, and after my admission, I then joined Seriti Mavundla and Partners for a short stint.
When did you start acting in the High Court?
I started acting in the High Court in 2019.
2019. And how long? How many stints have you had? How long a period have you acted there?
I would say, including the recent stint that was not indicated at the time of the application, that I'm approximately on 34 weeks.
I see that your practice fields a wide range of legal aspects. It's a general practice. Is it not so?
Yes, I would say it's a general practice.
And what is the majority of the work you do? In which area of the law is that?
I will say we have got mainly conveyancing in the form of transfers, bond cancellation and registration, and property litigation in general. And what would ordinarily be the general civil practice, your divorces, your Rodex and fund. We are also into labor, we also do land claims related litigation matters.
Have you written any judgments as an acting judge?
I did.
How many?
I will say 26, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. The legal professions comment very favorably about you. And what rings is that you write well. You agree that you write well. You think well.
I wouldn't say that I ran 100% well. Obviously, they've made comments that there were typos here and there, that I did not do a proper edit, amongst others. So I wouldn't say that I'm 100% well, as maybe they've conveyed to the commission.
But you try your best.
I try my best, certainly.
Okay. Do you have any reserved judgments?
At the time when I applied, there was one, but for sentencing only, and it was argued only on the 29th of March. So with regard to, as I said, at the time of the application, I would say that I still have got one reserved judgment for sentencing. I don't, however, include the judgments in respect of my recent stint when I was acting from the middle of January until...
I should have been clearer. I'm asking about judgments that are older than 3 months.
No, Except, no, I don't have.
All right. All right. Okay. I'm going to ask JP Mlambo to continue with you.
Thank you very much, DCJ. Good afternoon, Mr. Noko.
Good afternoon, JP.
How are you? Is it Nuku or Noko?
Neither, it's Noko.
Nuku.
Yeah, it's not Noko or Noko. It's
Oh, okay.
no, in the middle.
Sorry if I'm murdering your surname.
No stress.
You were discovered as a gem years ago by Justice Matopo, Ledwaba, and myself in a judicial training session. How many years ago? It happened outside Joburg.
Yes, it was in Rustenburg. I think it was 2016 or 17.
Yeah.
2016, I think, yes.
And you've acted, I think my spreadsheet says 40 weeks, give or take. You've acted again this past term.
Yes.
But I think we've added those weeks, haven't we?
I'm sorry?
We've added those weeks in this spreadsheet.
Yes, I think there was some mistakes on the spreadsheet, including the fact that I also did an extra 1 week agent, so it was not included.
Yeah, so you've done 2 weeks in the agent court, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember the first time you did the agent court week, you were sitting with Judge Collis.
Yes. Oh, the 1 week that I'm speaking about is the one when I was with Judge Collis.
Yeah.
But previously I did it last year, not with her. She was not the one who was with me.
How many matters, just for interest sake, did you have in the agent court yourself that week, the last week?
It was not more than 10
Mm.
because she took a load of them.
She took all of them.
Yeah, I'm saying a load.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think she did 11, and if I remember well, I was doing 10.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
And in the first week?
The first week, that was last year, it could have been, I think, around 10. There were not that many either.
And you were able to get through them?
I was able to get through them. Obviously, some of them will then be withdrawn and not proceed. So it was not too extremely harsh for one to go through all of them.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write the judgments you accumulated in the opposed motion? In any of the weeks? You've done 4 weeks in that court.
Previously?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I would say by average, it will be around 3 months plus a few weeks, I should say.
And how are you able to do that? I mean, in fact, we'll come to those judgments. I think there are comments here that there are, I think in 2 instances, there's a judgment that took you 8 months. Am I correct?
The comment from the GCB, maybe
Yeah.
I could speak to them now.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, yes, the first one, it was Lumka, is the one where I took, I think, approximately 4 months. I left, obviously, my acting stint towards October, December, to back to my practice, so it was a big hectic at the office to cover up, and it slipped through. That's why it delayed. The second complaint related to it, I think they made a mistake on the second one. It was handled by my colleague Nzelele, if I'm not mistaken. It was a full bench.
Who?
Is it Nzelele?
Or Munjelele.
Munjelele, I'm so sorry.
She's a permanent
yes.
judge.
Yes, so they made a mistake. They said I'm the one who was ascribed there. The third one, it was written by me, but what transpired, I was in Johannesburg with a senior judge. The 3 matters, one of the matters was full for the full bench. So the senior judge took 1 matter, I took the 2. Unfortunately, he got sick for some time, but I realized only later. As I said, I was done with my stint, and I offered to write the judgment. That's the one that took long. I spoke to her, I spoke to him, and he confirmed that it was his matter, and he also penned down an explanation that I should have forwarded to the JSC before. So in principle, I would say that I'm responsible for one of those delayed matters amongst the 3 as identified by the JCB.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that explanation. I think you spoke, either you or the judge spoke to me whether he can send the letter to the JSC to confirm that it was his fault, not your fault.
Yes,
I can't remember who of you.
I also did mention it.
Yeah. Are you firmly of the view that you now want to come permanently to the division?
Yes, I believe that I'm ready.
Yes.
And yeah,
That's why you're sitting here. And
that's why I'm sitting here.
Yeah. And you've encountered no challenges in your acting stints. If you have, please tell the commission. You know.
No, I didn't have what I'll call maybe serious challenges. I had senior judges who were easily accessible, who would guide you here and there where there's a need. To a great extent, I enjoyed both acting in Johannesburg and also in Pretoria.
Yeah. The professional bodies are very sparing in heaping praise on candidates. You are one of those where they say, I mean, the comment about your appointment is that it would send a positive message, right?
Yes, I'm humbled by their comments.
You saw that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And they've reviewed some of your judgments.
Yes, certainly.
I see. And thank you very much, DCJ. I've got nothing else to ask this guy.
Thank you, JP Mlambo. Oh, MEC?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you. One simple question from me is just, if you can just very briefly share, your experience in constitutional law, what exposure do you have there, and what's your knowledge of that?
Well, I've been reading cases that are from Constitutional Court, the ones that are normally published. I'll have to indicate, I also mentioned in my application that there's a pending matter that is in the Constitutional Court where we are acting for one of the respondents. We had a matter from my office also that was between a municipal manager and a mayor, and the dispute relates to what the mayor, it was a defamation case, where the mayor made some utterances in council meeting, and unfortunately at the municipal level, there's no protection as it happens in parliament. That in parliament you can make utterances but will not necessarily be sued therefore. So in our case, we were trying to argue before, it started in Pretoria until the Constitutional Court, we were trying to argue that mayors in council must be afforded a similar exemption as it applies to members of parliament. So those are the two matters that I'll say that I was involved in. I may briefly also indicate that I had a matter acting for a traditional leader who was being charged for contempt of court in instances where he says I was not involved, but only the community members. And we wanted to reason it out as it happened in one of the Machabi matter, which was in the Constitutional Court, to say that if the municipal manager cannot be charged for contempt in respect of the official in the municipality, that should also be extended to cover traditional leaders in respect of conduct of what, for lack of a good word, I'll call their subjects. So it went there, but unfortunately the court indicated that the prospects are not very good when we were trying to challenge it. And the second leg that we tried to raise in the very same matter was to indicate that ordinarily in contempt of court proceedings, ultimately you will then, for example, fine who I will call the respondent. But in imposing a fine, you must also at the same time assess whether it's affordable or not. So our client was not afforded the opportunity to address the court as to what will be a reasonable and fair amount. And the reason why I wanted to raise it, we are saying that when you sentence or when you impose a fine that will be paid, not a fine ultimately that it will be impossible for lack of a good word, the accused to pay. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose. And I'm saying that the only way in which you can assure yourself that this fine that I'm imposing will be paid is having to listen to the person who's supposed to pay. And in this instance, the respondent was not given an opportunity to address the court on what he can afford. But as I said, both the SC, unfortunately, and the Constitutional Court were not with us.
All right. Commissioner Nyambi?
Thank you, DCJ. Afternoon, Advocate Noko.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Indeed, it's very rare for us as Commission to get almost all the law bodies commending a candidate. So it means we have done exceptionally well. So it's one question from my side. If you can share with us the attributes, 3 attributes of a good judge, probably that might be the secret behind these positive comments. Mainly focus on those that you think you possess.
Yes, I'll talk to independence, objectivity, and impartial. Those are the 3 attributes that I think I possess, and do believe that to a greater extent can also be read from the judgments that I've delivered.
Thanks, Advocate. Thank you, TCJ.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Moimang.
Thank you, TCJ. Good afternoon, Mr. Noko.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Just one question from my side. As a follow-up from what the response that you gave, particularly the independence as one of the attributes that you raised. Is the independence of the judiciary meant to protect the rule of law and the public interest, or is meant to protect the individual judges? That's my question. Thank you.
I would say it's more to protect the judiciary. But as judges, being members of the judiciary, it also extends to us. Because as a judge, as I said, I'm employed within the judiciary. So I'm supposed to be independent. And ultimately, it's only then that it wins confidence from the general public, that when their disputes are referred to the judiciary, they will be independent and not be influenced or induced to give a certain judgment in favor of one of the parties for unfair reasons.
So you'll agree that with the independence of the judiciary, all of us are winners?
I guess so.
Thank you. Thank you, DCJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Moimang. Commissioner Singh.
Thank you very much, and thank you, DCJ. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Noko. I'm on the virtual platform.
Good afternoon.
It's very commendable that, in your limited acting space, you even had a reported judgment, because we come across others who don't have reported judgments with double the number of cases that they address. So I think it's very, very commendable. I just want to follow up on the Premier, and I'm glad that you've been reading the comments by the law bodies, because you referred to the typographical errors that the GCB referred to. So you knew about it even before you were asked. But in one of the paragraphs, they talk about your limited exposure to administrative law. Would you want to speak about that? The Premier asked you about constitutional law, but your limited exposure to administrative law. It's also commendable to see that you've enrolled to do a tax diploma, which you'll probably complete at the end of this year or next year.
Yes. I'm not sure whether it came clearer on my CV or on my application. We are also on the panel of the city of Tshwane, and in greater details we were dealing with procurement law, where obviously they will issue out tenders and there will be issues that parties will fight over. So in as far as that is concerned, I will say that to the extent that we handled matters over a period of, I think, 3 to 5 years, even though mainly we are doing labor, we did get a bit of exposure in administrative law. And at the same time, we also look out for workshops that speaks to that, and I believe that it will enhance one's knowledge in that sphere.
Thank you. Your forte seems to be labor, though.
Yes, I'll say labor and property, but admin law is also getting exciting in the process. You would have noted from my application, I also referred to a matter that we are handling on behalf of a mining house, speaking to a review in terms of the admin law.
Thank you very much, DCJ. Thank you, Mr. Noko.
Thank you.
Could I follow up this point about administrative law? Thank you, DCJ. Mr. Noko. Okay. Look, I've read the 3 judgments you've given. They are strong, they are fluent, they are logical. It's, I don't want to say unusual, but thank you for paying attention to what you're doing.
Thank you.
I've also seen that but your response to administrative law is that you are already doing procurement law, which is administrative law writ large, or maybe writ small.
In between.
Yes, but I mean, it's administrative law.
Yes.
What you are doing is administrative law.
Yes.
You can term it procurement law, but it's administrative law.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I want to ask you something else now. Thank you, that's also excellent. I want to ask you something else. I see that you are also doing land, which, always people come here, they talk about land, but I'm glad to see someone who's actually doing the work. Because it says here you've done Esther and restitution cases.
Yes.
Yes, no, that's excellent. So would you also want to be, if you get in, to be seconded to the Land Claims Court to assist there? There's a real problem of capacity.
I gather if assistance is required, I will make myself.
I see the JP is not impressed with my question.
And so the answer will not impress him either.
No, I mean, I think there's something about, we need people as articulate like you in the space of land to do real work and to stop the populism. So are you going to be willing and available if a request is made?
Yes, when I have done my time at the High Court, I will consider that.
All right. Actually, I don't have any substantive questions. Thank you.
You actually never had any questions for this candidate, Mr. Mokate. Anyone else? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Matulu-Lebu.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Mr. Noko.
Good afternoon.
I have to declare that I know you from the Black Conveyancers Association. What I just wanted to find out that you are very active in fighting for the plight of black conveyancers, especially against the banks. So are you telling me that you are abandoning ship now? So we are left with no one? Thanks.
I think I've groomed a few who will take over where I'm living.
I hope you give us some time before you get off and go to the bench.
I'll consult with the JP on that.
Any further questions, colleagues? No.
DCJ?
Yes. Is that Mr. Bernard? Oh, Prof.
It's clear. Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Noko.
Good afternoon. Can't see you though.
Yes, I'm on the visual platform.
We can't hear you, Professor. Your line is horrible.
I must say in some of your but in particular, the judge that issued a dissenting judgment on versus Bruno, John Bruni. I'm not sure you remember it. It's on page. I think your dissenting judgment is on page 70. Page 76 of your pack.
Yes, I know about the judgment.
And you remember that judgment where you dissented. The majority judgment was written by 2 senior judges, and you dissented from them.
Yes, I did.
You remember that? Yes. I just want to look. I thought it was a well written dissent and a valuable one in that. I just want to understand your approach when you dissented from that in relation to summary judgments. By first outlining what is the approach that one should take when adjudicating cases that deal with summary judgment. And perhaps maybe just to give us an indication as to, on this particular case, what was your approach of saying, but in these particular facts, you would not necessarily agree with the majority?
Yes, I may have to mention that at the initial stage, I was going to write the majority judgment, but ultimately I failed to persuade my two seniors. My approach was to say that the plaintiff need to satisfy me that all the requirements for a specific course of action have been met, even before I look at what the respondent is saying. So in this case, there were three elements which were very clear, which were supposed to be met. The course of action was about contiguo indebiti, where the plaintiff claimed that he was impoverished at to the benefit of the defendant, but he failed to bring evidence before court to indicate that I was impoverished, and here's the proof. The response that I got from the applicant was that the proof is at the office and I couldn't bring it to court. Secondly, if you are saying that you get impoverished at the instance of the defendant, and instead of attaching records confirming that the defendant received payment, you attached documents which suggest that somebody else was the defendant. In actual fact, to be specific about it, they were suing P2LTD, but in support of them proving that the defendant is the one who was enriched, they then confirmed that the account numbers belong to an LTD, and I'm saying those are two different entities altogether. So I was not satisfied that the applicant satisfied the requirements of the contiguo indebiti for which they wanted a redress. I would say that the majority judgment focused more on what the respondent has said. And I'm saying from where I am, there was no need for me to cross over to the respondent if I was not happy with the applicant's case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Noko, and I personally think that your approach is correct. Thank you very much, DCJ.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions from the virtual platform? No.
Okay. Thank you so much. The
End of
commissioners.
your interview. Thank you for coming. Thank you, and all the best. You're excused.
Thobela, ra leboha.